Thank you, Pierre. The train you hear coming is storm season, summertime, Florida. We love it. If we didn't have that and a whole lot of other things, we probably wouldn't have Jonathan Lord in the studio with us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hurricane season, is it like football season for guys in emergency management? Like,
it is for us, at least here in Florida, it is.
I mean, you got to be excited about, it's serious stuff. So is NFL. But anyway, but good to have you here because there's a lot of things that we need to know. Lauren Johnson also is here, our city manager for Palm Coast, and we learned a lot in this last year, I think, with flooding and in some of the infrastructure and all that. So we're going to talk about that. But good morning, Lauren.
Good morning.
Always good to have you in here. Donald O'Brien has been a lot of things, but right now he's here. He was our county commissioner, but right now it's insurance time and time for you to check the policy of what you have. And a lot of people, it's something that'll never pull out till they need it. And you hear from people like that, I'm sure.
Every day, David. It's a lot to do this time of year.
Yeah, so things to check. And in the back there, when you watch the video, you can see Kaylee. She's with Smart Guard Shutters. We're going to talk about shutters and what should you get, what shouldn't get? Do you need them at all? I mean, so a lot of things to talk about with that this morning in the show. And, of course, my co-host, Brian McMillan, Palm Coast Observer.
Good morning, sir.
All right, so a lot of things going on, and it's kind of nice to talk about Mother Nature. And is climate change, for real here in Flagler County? Is it trackable? It's not political, is it?
Is it not political? It's definitely political, but it is undeniable that it's been warmer the last few years than it was decades ago as a general trend. There is definitely more hurricane activity that we're seeing now, and that's very much tied to warmer oceans. I think the political part is what people want to say or don't say causes it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter to us. We have to deal with the consequences of it and preparing our community to deal with things like stronger or more frequent hurricanes.
And we're talking more than just hurricanes here because we have severe thunderstorms, we have tropical storms, and we'll talk about we really haven't even had a hurricane here. People think we did.
Yep.
So we had tropical storms last year, right?
We had tropical storm impacts. They were hurricanes as they passed somewhere close by to us, but the impacts that we saw here in our community were tropical storm impacts. But that's not to negate anyone's damages to their homes, to their properties, to their businesses, to those individuals that were directly impacted. It doesn't matter that the impacts are tropical storm level. It may have closed a business. Mm-hmm. It may have damaged a home.
And, of course, lightning, we just get zapped. I saw a house got on fire, and, in the fire department, we get zaps all the time. You hear them. Just last night we had thunderstorms here.
Quite a bit last night. Lightning, flooding, tornadoes, hurricanes spawn off all of those.
Alligators. Why would anybody want to live here?
Because it's still paradise. It's worth it. It's still paradise, for sure.
We love it that way. So people, let's talk to people right now that are new to Florida, that just moved here from wherever. And if you go, I've been here, I've been through hurricanes, and everything, whatever, then we want to talk to you as well. Because I used to have that attitude. I've lived in Florida 40-some years, and always like, hurricane party time, preparing for hurricane. I'd go to ABC Liquor and, and we'd be all ready and how stupid because that was when Hurricane Charlie found me. And I was whoa, there's more to it than this. So no matter how long you've been here and whatever how invulnerable you think you are, that's bad thinking. So we're going to kind of do a checklist and everything. So this is a show we're going to archive and probably play again when a hurricane is knocking at our door, a tropical storm. So with that in mind, we appreciate you listening. So let's recap last year. Jonathan, first you, and then Lauren, we'll have you recap last year and what the hurricane season meant for the city of Palm Coast. So first of all, as our emergency management director, take it away.
Last year, we remained lucky. I mean, we had Hurricane Milton. That impacted us with tropical storm type impacts. We did have to do some evacuations, but the biggest concern from that storm is we had flooding. We had flooding on the east side of the county, particularly off of the Intracoastal Waterway, and then we also had flooding on the west side of the county, which we have seen in the last couple times. Ian and Nicole, same kinds of issues. While the winds weren't significantly damaging our community, flooding was an issue in certain areas. So we definitely have some areas along the Intracoastal Waterway, particularly in Flagler Beach, but not only Flagler Beach, that we see flooding regularly, even with the spring tides now. that we're seeing that. And on the west side of the county, with the last 3 hurricanes that came by us, we saw significant flooding off of Dead Lake, which is connected to Crescent Lake, which then connects ultimately to the St. Johns River. So when the St. Johns River backs up, or there's heavy rainfall that empties into the St. Johns River south of us, and since the river, as I like to call it, flows backwards, it flows north, which is not really backwards, but it's just odd to see a river flow north in the U.S. Since it does flow north, it passes us and the water backs up, and we literally will have weeks sometimes where that water stays high, which is the main reason. Back after Ian and Nicole, a couple of years ago, the county lost the Bull Creek Fish Camp building because it sat in water for 2 weeks.
So we have such diverse geography in Flagler County. We have Flagler Beach, we have the beaches, we have the storm erosion and all that we're talking about. You're talking about agricultural in the West County, which is the vast majority of the land in Flagler County is west of US 1. And but most of the people live in Palm Coast, right? Well, it's like 80% of the population in Flagler County is in Palm Coast, right, Warren?
That is correct, David.
Okay, so Was it historic rain we got with Milton? Because I've been here since 2008, and I don't ever remember that much rain in that short a period of time.
I would say it was a combination of effects, right? We had 8 or 9 inches before Milton came the weekend before, so the system was already feeling those types of impacts before Milton ever came. And then prior to that, there was a storm right before Milton that we saw some rain where we started lowering our canal levels. But it was a wet summer that summer. So all of that was impacting the flooding that we saw during Hurricane Milton.
Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by lowering the canals?
Yes. So Palm Coast Master Stormwater System, it's through various factors. People see the swales in their front yard. The swales drain to the ditches, and then the ditches drain to the canals. And that is where we have control structures such as weirs, and it monitors those levels of trying to get the water out of the city and out of the system.
And you just, when you're expecting a lot of rain, you can just pull the levers and say, we want the canal to be a foot lower, so that when the rain comes, it won't overwhelm things.
Yes, so that we're adding additional capacity to the system.
But what went wrong?
It was just a combination of lots and lots and lots of rain over a short period of time, and there's no way for that water to go out.
Yeah, we don't think anything went wrong. Listen, from our perspective, nothing went wrong with their system. It was just, and it wasn't necessarily historic, but it was just a significant amount of rain over that period of time. The system did what it was supposed to do, but at some point in time, you can only put so much water in a bucket until some of that evaporates or moves on elsewhere.
But there's flooding. There was flooding. I mean, what? Can you explain what damage to homes there actually were? Because I know, like, if the street floods, that's not necessarily a sign that it's like catastrophic.
Correct.
Because that's a lot of drainage potential. If the road fills up with water, that's kind of part of the deal. But weren't there some homes that had water intrusion?
Yes, we had about 5 or 6 homes in Palm Coast have water inside the homes.
So is that just like it's kind of impossible to make out of 50,000 homes get down to zero? It's kind of impossible, or is there something that failed for those homes? They certainly feel like something failed.
And I understand, and no one wants that, right? But every scenario in these types of tropical storm, hurricanes is different. No one is alike, and they're all different, right? So it's hard to predict what's going to happen next time. But one thing that we are doing is monitoring where those effects happen and what we can do to repair the infrastructure, fix the infrastructure. And City Council made a major investment to approve a stormwater loan and go fix some of those various projects that will affect that flooding in that area.
I think a lot of people are shocked to hear that only 5 or 6 homes had water intrusion with everything that was going on. The perception is there was a lot more than that.
Yeah, and I would think some of those situations might be extenuating circumstances with a particular, parcel of land in terms of the drainage from that land or some reason for that. Mm-hmm. I would just like to chime in and say that there's a legal definition for flooding when it comes to the flood insurance program, and we don't have that in Palm Coast. We haven't had that in Palm Coast, where you have inundation of 2 or more contiguous properties from a rising water. It's been maybe a failure of a drainage system or a swale system.
It has to be 2 properties?
Yeah, that's the legal definition.
Really?
Yeah.
So one person floods, it's like it's you're not going to be covered.
Correct.
Wow.
Okay. Well,
So everybody out of those 5 that flooded, they weren't contiguous, I assume.
No, we had one. We had off Parati. We had 2 homes.
There were 2 side by side.
Correct.
So if they had flood insurance, then they would be covered, but the other ones, they wouldn't be.
That'd be my understanding.
Wow.
My guess. I don't know the specific circumstances.
So is it a waste of money to get flood insurance?
Absolutely. Everybody should have flood insurance, even
so
if you're not in a flood zone.
$49,995
Well, here's
should
the thing.
pay hundreds of dollars a year, and if the neighbors don't also flood, then it still was not going to really help you.
I think you need to analyze your personal situation and your property, but also, something that David alluded to when he opened the show. There's a lot of myths out there too, that we deal with, and especially if you're new to this area, you don't want to succumb to that. Like we hear all the time, oh well, Flagler County is our shoreline is an indent, on the it's not straight, and so that protects us.
I've heard that many times as well.
There's never been flooding anywhere in this area for 40 years or my lifetime, so I don't need flood insurance, but you need to research this.
Well, clarify also flood insurance, because if the hose in your dishwasher blows out, is that flood insurance?
No, that would be water damage, from a disruption of your appliances or whatever the cause may be. So flood insurance, the definition is rising water from an ocean, a bay, a river, or a failure of
a large
lake, failure of a drainage system that inundates the property.
So it's water coming up into your home, not coming down on your home.
Right. That would be wind-driven rain or rain. That would be the cause would be a storm.
All right. Well, so we'll just finish up talking about flooding and all that right now, because there's other things that we need to talk about. But while we're onto it, there's flood zones here now, right? I mean, and the flood zones have changed, right? So if you're in a flood zone, you definitely should have flood insurance. But to me, even if you're not, they say it's so cheap. And how cheap is flood insurance if you're not in a flood zone?
Well, it's not cheap anymore, David.
Oh.
In 2021, 22, I always get the dates wrong, October, the flood rating system changed. So now it used to be, if all the houses were the same on a block or relatively the same or in the same zone, they would all have the same price for flood insurance. It's not that way anymore. It's now every property is individually risk rated. So it's just like homeowners insurance. The premium, it's the same because it comes from the National Flood Insurance Program. If you buy it from, different agencies or different companies, but in terms of what the cost is for your property, it's specific to your property, the elevation, the construction of the home, all of that.
The value of the home as well, or no? Is that not part of it?
Yes, okay. It is, yeah.
David, can I just put a plug in for, you talked about new residents, right? Go get the disaster preparedness guide. We have these at several of our community facilities, and it's online. But specifically, we're talking about the community rating system and the National Flood Protection Program, and that's on page 12. So any new residents or
hold it up to the camera.
Current residents, read this. It's very informative. You can take notes. It talks about a lot of the things that we're going to discuss today, and more than just hurricanes. It's tornadoes, wildfires, etc. So a plug for that one.
Everybody should get that.
Yes.
All right.
And as you close out the flood topic and the flood insurance topic, though, we strongly believe that everybody should get flood insurance. If you can financially afford it, everyone should get it, because even if you're not in a flood zone, it does not make you immune to flooding. Flooding can happen anywhere, basically anywhere in Flagler County is at risk of flooding, regardless of the flood zone that you're in.
Well, Donald, let me ask you, so that everybody's, analyzed differently, like homeowners and the risk. Is there a bigger risk if you're in Palm Coast in the swale drainage system? Is that a plus, a minus, or no factor?
Well, let me say the swale system is it has worked for ever, since it was built. It does do what it does, but it does its job. But it can get overwhelmed. I mean, there's as we just talked about earlier, if there's just incredible volume, it can get overwhelmed. And if that's the case and it fails, then that's what flood insurance will.
Well, so the underwriters don't go, up, there's a swale drainage system. We'll get more money for that.
No, they look at the characteristics of the property, the elevation, the year it was built, all of that kind of stuff factors into what the rate would end up being. So
what can you just give me we know the average home, just ballpark, not holding you to it. What would be the average person in Palm Coast would pay for a flood insurance program?
Between $500 and $1,000, I guess, just depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
A year, that is. That's a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a lot more than it used to be.
But some of the coastal properties are the flood insurance premiums are a lot more than the homeowners premiums.
I just got mine, and I'm in Flagler Beach on the canal, and ours a couple years ago, prior to the change, was $300 or $400, and we just got our renewal, and it's $4,100.
$4,100.
Oh, sheesh.
You better hope your neighbor also floods.
We have not had, thankfully, knock on wood.
Did you get a quote from
Obviously,
Donald O'Brien? Oh my gosh,
he can knock $50 off that.
Yeah, don't even ask what the percentage. Slap a percentage number on that increase.
So when you see those increases, that's where, if you don't have a mortgage company telling you have to get flood insurance, that's where a lot of people have made the decision not to have it. It's risky.
Yeah. But there's also growing options out there too. You don't have to necessarily only get flood insurance from the National Flood Insurance Program. There are private options and riders. I actually happen to have an endorsement. Is that the correct term? An endorsement?
Yes.
Through my insurance company versus buying the National Flood Insurance.
Yeah.
But there are zones that, I mean, are there not zones where it says
where it's inherently higher,
more risk of flooding?
Correct.
In different areas?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I always like to say. Everybody's in a flood zone. It's a matter of how hazardous it is. So, the
Lauren's obviously in one of them.
The majority of the properties in Palm Coast are in a non-hazardous zone. They're in the next zone.
And does that make it less expensive?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, people that had not pulled out their insurance policy and blow the dust off it, other people coming in brand new, what are some of the things that we should look for on our policy that is, important?
Well, one of the biggest things, since about 2018, right before COVID, we've seen a large run up in prices of homes, due to the fact that it costs more to build them and rebuild them. So if you haven't looked at your policy for a few years, it's very likely that your home is underinsured because of the increases in value. So that has a way of getting away from you if you don't look at it every couple of years. If from a lot of folks, I judging by the volume in my agency, they've looked at their policies because the prices have gone up so much that people are shopping. I would say we probably have shopped almost all of our clients over the last three years or so. So I think that's happened. But again, you just need to make sure that you have the adequacy of coverage. That's the biggest thing.
So are you supposed to be insured for your home for what it's worth or what the replacement value would be for you to get into a new home?
It's the replacement cost of the home that you're insuring. So that's the important point.
So as the value
doesn't include land, it doesn't include some things, but what it would cost to rebuild it at today's prices.
Okay. All right. Well, check with your insurance guy. If you don't have one, you can give Donald O'Brien a call. You're shy about it, but I'll give a plug for you. And also, you sponsor this radio show, so I really ought to give you a big plug. You were sponsored it when nobody wanted to. So, hey, we're going to take a break, and we will be back. We're talking about summertime in Flagler County and Palm Coast, and hurricanes and storms and tornadoes and lightning and winds and all those things that make us Floridians.
And alligators.
And throw an alligator. Well, right, Jonathan Lord. We've got Lauren Johnston here, also Donald O'Brien with Hayward Brown. We're going to be talking with Kaylee with Smart Guard Shutters. Should you have shutters? Do they really do anything? And if you're going to get them, where's the best one for you? I don't know. We'll find out. Brian McMillan and you listening on WNZF.
Are you wondering if that old paint in your garage is still any good?
Bring it in. We'll let you know.
And while you're at it, if you need to match a color,
chip off some paint and bring it in.
our color matching is unmatched.
Benjamin Moore, corner of Old Kings and Utility Drive.
Palm Coast.
Locals know where locals go.
For the best happy hour on the beach every day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. You'll love these drinks.
Johnny D's Beach Bar and Grill. We're waiting for you.
Dignity Memorial Providers. Craig Flagler Palms Funeral Home and Flagler Memorial Gardens deliver compassionate care, personalized service, and exceptional customer satisfaction. There are options for everyone and discounts for pre-planning. They're always happy to show you their facility. Learn more at dignitymemorial.com.
The impact of impact fees. While the city of Palm Coast ponders voting for extraordinary circumstances doubling impact fees to developers for future growth, will it outprice new home buyers even more? And what about us existing homeowners? Will historic impact fee increases raise our taxes and insurance? Will it increase rental rates for our labor force already struggling with inflation? In the studio, hashing it out, Palm Coast Vice Mayor Teresa Pontieri, Flagler Home Builders Association Anna Maria Long, along with a few other interesting guests, including co-host Brian McMillan. This is a special live broadcast Monday morning at 10. Watch it live on the Flagler Radio YouTube channel, also streaming on the WNZF Facebook page, with both links easy to find at flaglerbroadcasting.com. We're back free for all Friday, and it is Friday, May 30th, 2025, right on the doorstep of hurricane season. That's what we're talking about here today. And Lauren, you've been here, you've lived here quite a while, right?
Since 2005.
All right, yeah. Looked for many years, and you live out on the beach and enjoy all the fun stuff out there. And Flagler Beach is a whole different thing. We'll talk with them, during we're going to have several different programs about hurricane season. The communication is, explain it to me. First of all, we kind of, all you guys funnel information to us here on WNZF on the radio. We're very committed. We've got transmitters with generators and studios with generators. You just rebuilt a new studio for us at the EOC. So we have direct communication with the city and the county and everybody, and we're streaming, and we've got 4 radio stations here. If one goes down, we got another, and if they all go down, hopefully we'll be streaming. I don't know. I hadn't thought that far into it. Anyway.
You can have your St. Johns County ones.
Yes, yeah, we have. Yeah, we
take
could.
those over.
We could. So the communication in the county during go time, emergency, hey, everybody, take your positions. How does that work between the city of Palm Coast, 80% of the population, and you have your own, first responders, Chief Berryhill and Jonathan? We've got the county, and how does it all get coordinated and communicated on what the hell is going on?
So not everybody may know this, but we actually have a county facility dedicated to making sure that happens. It's called the County Emergency Operations Center. It's on the main government complex in Bunnell. And that whole purpose of that facility is to enable us to communicate and work together as one big cohesive team. What I like to tell folks, at the end of the day, if something bad happens in the middle of a disaster, nobody cares what the side of the truck or the car says that's coming to help you. We all, at the end of the day, if someone lives in Palm Coast, but Palm Coast sends help to the unincorporated or to Flagler Beach or vice versa, we all work together as a team without borders, basically taking care of our entire Flagler County community and constantly communicating. In the Emergency Operations Center, all 5 of our cities, even the small ones, are represented with a representative. Larger cities like Palm Coast also have a version of an emergency operations center to help coordinate their government operations. But we all really do work as one big team when something bad happens.
I mean, throw FPL into it.
They're in there too.
And who else is in there?
FPL, TECO, for the few areas that do have natural gas. TECO's the gas company. They're represented. FPL, the Florida Government Utilities, which is one of the non-city based water providers, are represented through the Emergency Operations Center. The AT&T, Verizon, they're all may not be physically in there. In today's world, we have technology; they don't have to be physically with us, but they're represented in some fashion as well. So it really is this big, massive team of all essential services working together to help take care of whatever the emergency is presenting and help get our community back to normal afterwards.
And I would say the reason why we work so great together in that collaboration is because it's under the leadership of Jonathan, right? So we're vetting our plans through him. We liaison with him and the county. So ultimately, we're all listening and taking direction from Jonathan throughout these storms or whatever emergency that we're in.
And how do you communicate? I mean, you got different radio frequencies. You got the sheriff's department through all that. You got the Bunnell police department. You have the Flagler Beach police department. To me, first of all, it's to us. You make our job real easy as far as being on the radio and talking to you guys. And Lauren, you're always accessible, and Jonathan, of course, with a studio in there, and so we have a constant flow of live information along with people calling in. Like the one lady in Flagler Beach looking out her kitchen window with the storm coming in and didn't have anything. And other people listening to the radio took stuff to her and got her. I mean, it's all this. But to have it all coordinated at real time with totally unexpected things, to me, it's just like an amazing performance in a way.
That's probably a good way of putting it. But it's all about team members. I think Lauren said
it's orchestration. I guess.
Lauren used the word led by Jonathan. I don't like saying it that way because it's all about a team. I'm just one person and part of the team. That team would happen, I think, without me. I'm pretty sure it would because it's just made up of all these different amazing members. Things like egos and all that stuff go away. It's really all about helping. And whether it's a hurricane or tropical storm type event where we're activated and working for a week or two, or whether it's honestly during COVID, the EOC was running for 3 months straight without a day off. That really doesn't matter what the emergency is.
I would say that the egos should be thrown out the window, but they aren't always, because we've heard stories in the past. And that's where I think that what Lauren's saying, I mean, your attitude about it, that it's not just about you, is partly why it works so well and why your role is so important. Because it would be easy. Somebody's feel like, hey, now it's martial law. Everybody's got to do what I say. That can be just as damaging to the whole unit. So I, as a resident, feel a lot of trust in you and in what happens at the EOC these days. So, Lauren, as city manager, when everything is happening, because you've got utilities and flooding, I mean, so kind of just paint a picture for your role as a city manager when all this is going on. Where are you and what happens?
Sure. So as the city manager, I'm more in the policy group. So I'm coordinating with the county manager and other city managers and the sheriff. And so when Jonathan brings different policies, that whether it's the curfew or shutting down facilities or what we're doing, then we get together, and then I'm out of operations, and Chief Berryhill leads as incident commander for the city of Palm Coast. So Jonathan will have a daily briefing, and then shortly after that daily briefing, our group will get together and formalize our plans that are led by Chief Berryhill.
Brian?
I think two things that people probably stress out about the most, and maybe you can give a little comment about how these things are handled. One is evacuations, and when and how they're decided, and how mandatory are they. And two, power.
Of course.
If we lose power, I think that's the thing that, at least in my family, the big fear is, okay, our home was built to these great Florida codes. The chances that our roof blows off is very low unless it's going right over our house, which it could happen, but we hope and pray that doesn't happen. But no matter what else is going on, we could lose power for a while, which means we'd have no AC in the heat of summer in Florida, and maybe our fridge loses all its food, which can be a financial crisis for a lot of people. So how do you handle evacuations, and what do you tell us about losing power?
Well, here, let's divide this up. All right.
Okay.
I think, first of all...
Sorry, I'm not the host. I'm only the co-host.
Well, that's why. But you're getting better. All right, let's talk about evacuations first. Okay, like when to go, when to stay. That's always a big, when it's beautiful and sunny out, Jonathan, you've always said that's the time when you need to decide if you're going to go or stay when it's a beautiful sunny day, and that's pretty hard to do. So what should go through our minds to checklist? Okay, we need to leave, or we should just stick it out.
So specifically for hurricanes, we do have a predetermined, we call it a potential hurricane evacuation zone, as well as a potential lake flood zone. So potential hurricane evacuation zone is on the eastern side of the county, and that's a part of the county. It's everything east of I-95, and then west of I-95, it kind of follows the line down Belterre, it jogs towards 95 again, and then follows down Seminole Woods Boulevard. It's kind of a hard line to describe, but it follows major roads. So that means the right storm with the right conditions could push water inland from the ocean that far. It could be a 1 in a million storm, but it is scientifically possible. And 1 in a million storms can happen. They could happen this year. This could be our chance for that. I don't want that to happen. I hope that never happens to our community. So that is all based on science. The National Hurricane Center runs supercomputer models. About every decade or so, we get updates on new information, and they tell us where this water may go. So that creates this potential hurricane evacuation zone. In previous years, up until about 2 years ago, which was in sync with the rest of the state, we used to have zones called A, B, C, D, E, and F. And those zones, which every other coastal county of Florida uses, basically A was your closest to the coast, B was further inland, C, D, and it was tied to categories of hurricanes. Obviously, here in Flagler County, that lettered system causes a little bit of confusion. Again, it is a state standard, but it causes a whole lot of confusion. I learned that very quickly when we moved here. It caused a whole lot of confusion because we have lettered sections and neighborhoods in Palm Coast, so it's Palm Coast's fault. But we got new data a couple of years ago, and that new data allowed us to reevaluate how we do our zones. So we basically merged A through E and created this new potential hurricane evacuation zone. That new data also allows us to be more precise with evacuations. So what we do now is we evacuate by neighborhood. So if we know a certain storm is coming, we look at the actual storm that's approaching us, and we get the scientific data from the National Hurricane Center. Says the forecast says the water will go here, and at this point in time. So we then evacuate based, in general, with the exception of mobile homes, evacuate based on where that water may go. Because water is what causes the most injury and death in the United States from hurricanes, not the actual wind.
So what I'm hearing is we evacuate because of a flood threat, not so much a wind threat?
That is correct.
Well, that makes it easier to decide, I guess.
But it's a flood threat of moving water coming inland from the ocean or a large body of water like the lake on the west side of the county. So that's why we have a potential lake flood zone.
Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Well, Lauren, you're out on Flagler Beach. You got to go.
We go every time.
Did you?
Yeah, they don't get Flagler Beach never gets to opt out, unfortunately, because they're on the ocean.
Yeah. Well, some people say, and then they brag about it after they live, and the ones that don't make it don't brag. But anyway,
that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm usually working, so we always go.
Oh yeah. So where do you go? I mean, that's always kind of been the thing. I've had more people that did evacuate doing the right thing, and they get stuck in traffic, and the gas stations are out, and the kids are screaming, and the dogs are,
That's why we need Belvedere terminals, right?
Jeez.
Sorry,
Brian.
Totally different topic.
You're never going to be the host. Keep that up. Hey, so, where do you go? What do you do? If it's a hurricane, it's like a spinning top sometimes. You could actually be leaving and driving more into the path of it. And a lot of people have told me that next time they're not going to. Were you one of them that said, we're not going to? Somebody had told me that. Anyway, but next time we're just going to stay. We're not going to go through all that. We feel like we risk our lives more on the road than staying.
So I am a huge advocate. I don't want people to go far. People years ago used to say, well, I'm going to drive up to Georgia, but hurricanes go to Georgia too, and Georgia's building codes are weaker than Florida's building codes. So if the hurricane changes direction, you're heading to a state that has weaker buildings than we have here in Florida. So I don't recommend that at all.
Isn't that kind of a shift? Because I remember many years ago,
they used to say, get on the road, go as far as you can. As far as you can, Floridians means Georgia, basically. That's really what it means. We don't like escaping our state too far, right? So now is the time. A day like today, if you haven't already had the discussion, now is the time to figure out what your plan is going to be if you have to evacuate. And again, we're evacuating because of water unless you're in a mobile home, because those aren't built to the same code. Then we will evacuate because of wind for them. Make plans now. If you have the means or the friends or family members, find friends or family that are nearby that are out of the area being evacuated. Again, we post that evacuation zone. So find people that are out of those zones on that map and make a deal with them saying, hey, if it's a hurricane, can I come stay with you? And if it's something else like a wildfire, you come stay with me.
What are the chances that the entire county is under evacuation order? Has that ever happened for a hurricane?
Never.
Yep. So if you live closer to a canal or to somewhere that is likely to have an evacuation, you could evacuate to the B section or somewhere, or to the W section with a friend that's just not in an evacuation zone.
Yeah. And that's our primary recommendation is you make that. Now, not everybody has friends in town, and I get that. But But yeah, honestly, that is the best case scenario. That is what we want people to do.
The least amount of gas, the less traffic, all that.
You're not fighting. And gas becomes a problem with us because you have this little tiny interstate, I-95, that runs through our county, and tourists and everyone that's leaving the state are coming off and using our gas stations too. And people have asked me, well, can't you stop that? No, we can't stop them.
Sign up for locals
you can't say
only.
Flagler County only on a private gas station. We can't do that. Sorry. So friends or family is the number one thing we want that are nearby, that are outside of the evacuation. You could potentially, depending on where the zone is, it could be across the street and you're technically in safety if it's a higher, and just certain roads are that way, right? Number two, if you have the financial means, nothing's wrong with staying at a hotel or motel. And while I tell people not to go far, we're near one of the places in the country that has more hotel rooms than probably in the top 10, probably top 5, top 3 maybe, Orlando. Orlando's not far from here. Now that you have the toll lanes, it doesn't take as long to get to Orlando. But Orlando's not far. I would say, in general, there's always hotel rooms available in Orlando if you have the financial means to do it. It may not be the quality of hotel that you may expect, but there will be something that has hotel rooms. And then, last but not least, if you don't have friends or family in the area, if you don't have the financial means for a hotel or motel, don't ignore an evacuation order if your neighborhood's under an evacuation order. We will always open up public shelters. That is our job. If we do an evacuation order, even if it's for one little tiny neighborhood or one block, we will always open up public shelters somewhere.
I'm thinking top floor in Margaritaville will be a great view.
Flagler Beach. Flagler Beach is always being evacuated.
Yeah, okay. They got the bar open. You can swim in the pool and all that. But anyway. So what about, a lot of people are like, let's, home is your castle. Let's fortify the house. Let's cut down the trees around it. Let's really make it safe. Let's get a generator. Let's secure the garage door. Let's get hurricane shutters. Obviously, this is a segue for Kaylee here.
So subtle.
So with Smart Guard shutter, because I don't have hurricane shutters, and I've always wondered, you really need to. I remember in the day when people used to duct tape their windows, and then it was really hell trying to get the glue off of the windows afterward with all these X's over it and everything. You can always tell that's somebody brand new to Florida when they duct tape their windows. But Smart Guard shutters, you guys are family owned, you're local. That's why I invited you in. So thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So how do you know there's so many different things on shutters to protect your home? Do you even need them? And if people are going to stay and fortify and make their home into a fort, what should they be thinking? How would you go at it?
So there's lots of different options out there. Not all options are the same for every person. And sometimes people need 4 different options on one home because each home is different in the architecture. I do personally think that hurricane shutters benefit everybody here. You never know when you're going to need them. So the people who have been around forever and I've never needed shutters before. Okay, but your house is probably older now. It's not the codes change every 4 years for the building code. And it constantly is increasing. Is your home up to date on code? Probably not if it's an older home. And as they said earlier, the hurricanes are getting stronger. The winds are getting stronger. So even though it's a flood risk, it's also a wind risk. It's debris that can fly through your window. If debris flies through your window, breaks your house depressurizes, and your roof can fly off because of that. So having a shutter. All
right, we'll stop with that for a second. Jonathan, jump in here, which he's talking about. Because the shutters aren't just to
keep your glass. It's less about keeping your glass looking pretty. It really is about the pressure and the water coming into your home, because that's what causes the damage. Having a broken window is not the end of the world. It's not the actual glass breaking that's the problem. It's the water and the air air pressure that comes in.
So that's where they talk. Well, even a tornado does that, right? Where it would the pressure. Picture this okay, you got an envelope of air and everything is fine. It's like in an airplane maybe where somebody
not quite as pressurized as
but if it could actually blow the roof off the house if it's punctured.
Even if a door is hinged differently, so like an inward swing door versus an outward swing door, those things come into consideration of the integrity of your home. And actually in our county, I found out the other day, inward swing doors are what's common and what the Florida building code around here they want you to have, but an outward swing door is actually more fortified in case of a storm. So most people around here is going to have an inward swing front door, and that's a compromised spot.
So in South Florida, that's had more hurricanes and more experience with larger storms. They have the door swinging the opposite way in South Florida.
Okay. What would the wind have to be if you lose a window? How much wind would there have to be to where your roof is compromised I don't know. There's a lot of it is to do with the year your home was built, because homes built after the 2001 modification of the building code have certain tie downs. More recent homes may have stronger tie downs. So it's not a super linear equation to kind of figure that out. So, unfortunately.
Hey, we're talking about fortifying your home. If you're going to stay, okay, we're going to fight it out. We're in a pretty high and dry place. We're not so much worried about flooding. And by the way, I'm probably one of the few that I did say that I thought the swale drainage system in Palm Coast worked incredibly well with what happened. I mean, you got like people like, oh, there's water in my swale out front, or into the road or whatever. But you're right, Brian. I need to keep telling people, imagine like all that water out in the street and in the swale is a lot better than in your home. And that's all part of the system. And it was a very economical system, wasn't it, Lauren?
Yes, it was. At the time when ITT was master planning Palm Coast, it was an economical solution, yes.
And it still works to this day.
It still does work, yes. And the streets are meant to hold water while you're in the event. And then after the storm passes, the water recedes very quickly.
Okay.
There have been times when my street has flooded, and it's pretty brief usually, but if you go out there and you look and you think like how much you look all the way down your street both ways, and it's like how much water would have to be added.
That's a huge volume of water
to add like 3 more inches, and it still wouldn't even be anywhere close to my house, but to add 3 more inches all the way up and down the street all around, like, well, there's a lot of capacity.
Just think
there.
We just added that a stormwater capacity pond in the L section.
Yes, on London, yeah.
And that added 13 football field of
now
water.
Now I really don't need flood insurance.
Don't follow Brian's advice.
Hey, while we're talking about it, I got Mark from K&M Mowers on. Mark, is still there?
I'm still here.
Hey, man, I'm sorry, but you've been on hold a long time. We're talking about fortifying your home, and part of it is having a generator. Like, Brian, you're saying, like, power goes out, we're staying, we're not going to evacuate, we're going to get some storm shutters, roof is good, we probably won't flood. Time for the generator, and I can tell you firsthand, last year I got mine out, and the damn thing wouldn't start, even though it's almost brand new. And it was so aggravating. So that's why I'm talking to Mark. K&M Mowers, their local company here. Now's the time, gentlemen, start your engines and drag them out and fire them up. But if they don't start, I'm not a small engine repair guy or whatever. So what's the deal on that, Mark, with K&M? How can you help people that get their generator out now and give it a test run? It doesn't start. What can you do to save the day?
Well, we can recommend a couple of things. Obviously, if it doesn't start, you can bring it in for repair. And we also offer, during a hurricane or during an event, we are open until the very last minute. We take generators in and repair them up until 9, 10 o'clock at night in the event that a hurricane is on the way. The other thing you can do, there's a few things you can do at home as a homeowner to try and get your generator to run. Most generators have a carburetor on them. Some of them have fuel injection now, but most of them have carburetors. You can, if you're mechanically inclined and want to do it yourself, drain the fuel out of the carburetor bowl. There's usually a drain on the bottom of the bowl that you can unscrew and drain the fuel out. The most common problem I see here in the shop is regular blended fuel that you put in your car is not made for generators. In the event of a hurricane, obviously you want to use any fuel you can get your hands on, and that's fine. But for storage, you really want to use ethanol-free fuel because it's not hygroscopic. And what that means is it doesn't attract water. Most regular blended fuels at the gas station attract water, so that's one of the leading causes of non-start after a few months.
So if after hurricane season and you put the generator away, is it better just to drain all the gas out of it? And
yes, absolutely. You want to drain it and run it dry. after hurricane season. If you don't have the ability to do that, we can tell you how to do it, or you can bring it into us and we can do it for you so that we can get it ready to store.
All right. And then somebody's like, don't have a generator. Do you sell them?
We do. We are a Generac dealer here in Flagler County, and we also carry Kohler products as well.
All right. And like a regular, I'm thinking of, the generator with a couple of wheels on it. You can, handle, you can drag it around, but still heavy as hell. What does a generator cost, like just for a basic one to, you can run the refrigerator and plug in something else and unplug that and, just kind of a survival generator for a typical household. What do they go for these days? Just ballpark.
Well, pricing has definitely changed over the last year, especially with the addition of tariffs recently. The pricing has gone up. Your run-of-the-mill kind of 5,500-watt generator that'll run a generator or run a refrigerator and a couple of lights and fans. That particular generator on the low side is going to be around $500.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, that $500 is a bargain when you have no power.
Yeah, we have generators in stock all the way up to 18,000 watt that'll run your home just as well as regular power would.
All right. Okay. Hey, Mark, K&M Mowers, and you're in Bunnell, right?
Yes, we are. We're in Bunnell on US 1 right next to O'Reilly Auto Parts.
All right. So if you need a generator and yours won't start, give Mark a call, whatever, K&M Mowers. And that's pretty cool that you guys stay open to help people right to the very last minute with a hurricane coming. So we appreciate that.
Yes, we do. We try to give back.
All right. All right, Mark, hey, well, thanks a lot. Have a great weekend, okay?
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. All right. So, yeah, I mean, isn't that aggravating? Have you ever had that happen to you? That's why I don't even have a mower anymore, because I have a lawn service, because, when it just doesn't start. Brian, are you a mechanical guy like that?
Not really. I have I have a lawnmower and a pressure washer, and they both just... I've had to learn how to clean out the carburetor and stuff, but it's such a pain that I bought a battery powered lawnmower instead. And I have a pressure washer that is pretty much brand new, but doesn't start because I need to go clean the carburetor. So,
Okay. All right. So we've got. Oh, and let's before we run out of time here, I do want to talk about contractors and scams and things like that they're real, and it's people. You always think, like, how can somebody be caught up in that or scammed by it? But it happens a lot. You hear about that, Lauren, right?
Yes.
And what do you do to protect yourself? And I just saw in the news, we're waiting for RJ Larissa to call in right now, because they just. I got a press release where there was a guy who, after the storm, was scamming people and taking money and not doing the work.
It happens every time, every hurricane.
So this guy, Stephen Ray Parker, is now in prison for it. So it's a real serious thing. But RJ was going to talk about that. So even before the storm, I think when people emotionally are at their most vulnerable time is when they take advantage of you.
Correct.
And so give us an idea. What are some of the roofing contractors, of course, would be one. What are others that you hear from?
I think roofing, any handyman services, a lot of handyman, quote unquote, tricks, people that do all different trades, handyman, electrical work, plumbing work, any of those. I think the best thing to do, our recommendation is part of having a disaster plan in place. If you have to evacuate, where you're going to go, if you have to harden your home and batten down the hatches because you don't have to evacuate, can you do that? Do you have a contract with a company like a handyman service or some other company to do that for you? But now is the time when you have time to look up those companies. Now, when the internet is working, when you're looking for companies and you're getting price quotes, find the companies that you're going to want to use, maybe 2 or 3 of each type of company. And you can go on the internet and check their contractor licenses. You can check, are they licensed with the city or the county if you're in the unincorporated? Are they licensed by the state of Florida? Do they have the correct licensure? Because by having the correct licensure, then there's never a perfect guarantee, but the odds are that they're also properly insured as well. So if you have that, then they become that very simple phone call when you need them after a storm, because you've already vetted those companies. So you're not waiting for a random person to knock on your door, go, I can fix that hole in your roof for you in 20 minutes, but give me cash now. and then I'm going to run to Home Depot, and the person never comes back. That happens every storm, everywhere in Florida. They aren't necessarily even Floridians doing it. These unscrupulous contractors come from out of state and swarm our state after every hurricane.
And tornadoes. I remember walking the streets after the tornado recently came
the
through
Indian trails?
Yes, the B section, and there were swarms of people door knocking. But I agree with Jonathan. Preparedness, get your checklist going and pre-vet some of those contractors. But if not, the city always puts up resources after storms of how to vet and check those contractors before soliciting services.
Kaylee, go ahead. I was going to ask Kaylee, are there scammers in your business of storm shutters?
There are a lot, actually.
Really?
And people will come and put up what they call the clear panels. But every product that we sell has a Florida product approval number on it. Everything goes through the testing, the missile testing. There are products out there that people will put up and they'll say they're hurricane shutters, but they're actually not. And they may not hold if something hits it. So you need to get a certified product. We actually at our shop keep standard sizes of panels, and we keep the hardware, and we stay open as well to help people as much as we can before a storm. So if you need to DIY quick and Lowe's runs out, we have stock that we keep for emergencies.
Brian?
Well, I was going back to the power situation. I know FPL has invested a lot in trying to harden
They call it hardening the grid.
Yes, as well as help, correct me if I'm wrong, but kind of like decentralizing somewhat. I'm not sure how to describe it, but like so that if one neighborhood goes out, the whole city doesn't go out. Correct. But it's sort of like, how does that work, and how has that been effective?
I think it has been very much. Even I think I've been here almost 7 or 8 years now. Even in that time, I've seen FPL harden the grid here. Most of the main lines now are either on concrete poles that are definitely more resilient, or if it's an area that they couldn't do concrete poles, they've doubled the amount of wooden poles. So if one pole goes down, that doesn't mean all the lines get torn down. So all of the main lines, or trunks is what I used to call them, down roads like Royal Palm and State Road 100 and Palm Coast Parkway, so on and so forth, and then heading all the way out to the west side of the county, those have all been fortified in some fashion. And then even the neighborhood lines, they've definitely gone in, and typically in the neighborhoods, if it's not under the ground, that typically is wooden poles, but they've increased the quantity or replaced them. The good thing is we've had previous storms that knocked down poles. They're not putting the same poles back, they're the old ones that broke. So they're putting these newer, stronger poles up. So, and then there's limitations. People that do have poles in their neighborhood don't want poles in front of every house, so it becomes an eyesore thing. So obviously they have limitations of how they can push it. They cannot push everything under the ground just for the heck of it, because that costs money. And under the ground is not the perfect solution. If there's a flooding issue and there's a break in a line, under the ground is actually worse than having it above the ground. So is it better most of the time in a hurricane because it's usually the poles blowing or trees blowing into poles? Most of the time, yes, but it's not the panacea that solves all problems either. So it's not that simple. But we are also lucky, not every community has, but FPL stages response crews in our county because they have an office here that does that. They have a great partnership with our airport. They take over parts of the runway, and they literally bring in, and I'm not exaggerating, thousands of work crews. Those crews aren't just for Flagler County, don't get me wrong, but they're here. They're literally living, after the storm, they are living here. They're living in trailers. They're feeding in like a military base camp style situation. So they're getting to our community quicker than they've ever done in the past.
Yes, and they have a method to their madness of how power is restored. They put power on to critical infrastructure facilities first. So we make sure that on our list for them is all of our pump stations, lift stations, city hall, all of those critical facilities that you want to have going as soon as possible.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the pump stations and lift stations.
That'll be another day.
All right,
Brian.
A day about pet tanks.
We got to wrap it up right now. But hey, Kaylee, thank you for being here. We're going to give you a free 15-second commercial for Smart Guard shutters. So go ahead. 1, 2, 3, do it.
Just give us a call if you need any hurricane protection. We manufacture most of the products locally, so straight from the manufacturer here. And we can get you all different types, rolling shutters, accordion shutters. We do hurricane-rated Bahama shutters if you want a pretty look to your house. We also have the affordable options like panels and hurricane fabric as well. So just give us a call and we can help you out.
That was 30 seconds.
30?
Local family-owned company.
And you
so
didn't
it's a
even
great one
give
to
your
support.
website or anything.
smartguardshutters.com.
All right, very good. Final comments. Lauren Johnson, what are we supposed to be thinking and doing right now in the city of Palm Coast for hurricane season upon us?
Get prepared. Go read the disaster preparedness guide. Know your zones and just get prepared.
Okay. All right. Be aware. Be prepared. Don't believe everything your neighbor tells you either.
Well, I don't know. Be neighborly. Help your neighbors. Understand who is in your neighborhood. Maybe they need help as well.
Well, maybe you can help your neighbor with better information than they may have, so.
We actually have an entire free training program. We have one that's the next class starts June 10th, and it's free to the entire community. It's called CERT, Community Emergency Response Team, and that whole program is about neighbors helping neighbors. It's giving you basic first aid skills, basic firefighting skills, search and rescue skills, just disaster preparedness skills. 30-hour class. We're offering it in the afternoons. And that is all about what Lauren said. Because after a big disaster, there are not enough responders in the state of Florida that could be everywhere at once. So if we can help educate our residents a little bit more to be more resilient and help their neighbors, because that's really what being a community is helping your neighbors, right? Regardless of whether your government can do it or not, it's about helping your neighbors. This class gives you those extra skills, and we definitely recommend people take because it's free. We like free.
And in the brochure, Lauren's talking about there's shelter. We didn't talk about shelters, but we have some really good shelters in cooperation with the schools.
Yeah, amazing partnership with our school board and our health department to help run our shelters in our community.
So if you're thinking about should I go or should I stay, or you're scared, the shelters are there for you for that purpose. And some you can even bring your little dog with you, right?
You can bring your normal pets, your standard domestic pets with you.
Yes, and if you're on social media, either follow the city's channels because we give out a lot of information during storms. And then also Flagler County Emergency Management has social media as well. So find as many resources as you can to get the information you need.
And listen to the radio.
That too.
Yeah, because we have all you guys
great
on.
Local partners, WNZF.
All right, very good. Brian, final words from you, and we got to go.
Well, thank you for all the hurricane info. It's always necessary, good show to do in the beginning of June. I also want to just say congratulations to all the class of 2025. I got to go to both graduations in the Ocean Center in Daytona this week, and it's very inspiring. The whole, thousands of people are there cheering on, this next generation of people in our community. And this week, the print edition of the Palm Coast Observer has all the graduation, this week and next, a lot of graduation content, including all the headshots of all the seniors this week. So hopefully everybody enjoys that. And thanks for reading and thanks for listening and getting involved in the community.
All right. Well, you could be a host yet, Brian.
Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
You shouldn't have.
Hey, Monday we're doing a special thing on the City of Palm Coast, the impact of impact fees. And we have our Vice Mayor, Teresa Pontieri, on with Anna Maria Long, with the builders. Just a good discussion on what we're up against and how we can fix it.
Phone ringing, dog barking at the mailman.